Speaking of cringe, I mean, let's look at some of the comments from last night. Wow. I mean, I know we're a reactionary fan base, but the way some people were going on, you'd swear we just thrown away the league title. Do you know what else was funny? You know, some of the headlines from the newspapers, like, because Chelsea and Arsenal won last night, they were running with headlines like capital gains and stuff like that. It's hilarious, you know, but we have to react. We have to come back against Everton on Saturday and get the win. Nothing else is good enough now. That was a very vintage Liverpool-Newcastle game last night, though, 3-3. It's heartbreaking the way you conceded that last goal. Other than that, everything else was pretty much perfect, you know. As in, perfect from the perspective of we fought back into the game. We got ahead again. Mo showed why he's still one of the best, if not the best forward in the world. But unfortunately, you know, it is the Premier League and we were punished at the end. And, you know, that might not necessarily be a bad thing in the grand scheme of it, as much as it, of course, hurt us last night. Shocking the way the papers are going overboard, said Alex. I've told you so many times, my friend, we have to make sure that we don't let this crap seep in. Because all that was last night was a draw against a well-rested Newcastle team that were up for it in front of a vociferous home crowd. So yeah, all good for me. You know, I would have wanted the win, but I knew it was going to be a difficult game. And I think when we look back on it over the course of the season, I don't think it's going to be one that we have too much to be sore about. I think we're still going to carry on. Look, but Saturday becomes a bigger game now, doesn't it, Alex? What else we got? Craig, it was a good draw, but hard game. Maeve took a lot out of us. It was, Dave. And, you know, we talk a lot, Dave, on the channel about how these games, like a draw on its own, you would say, all right, not too bad. But it's how these things come about, right? So we were behind last night, twice, if my memory's right. And then we found our way in front. And then at the end, so that draw feels like a defeat. But we've got to shake it off, and we've got to show that... do you know what it did make me realise, though, Dave, and everybody else in the chat? It makes me realise that everyone else is shit scared of us. Because one draw for us, and everyone's jumping all over it. Remember when City didn't win in 6, and Arsenal went through there? I don't remember it being such a whoopla with everybody else, but I just take it as a compliment, in all honesty. I think Arsenal fans, deep down, they know that we aren't a flash in the pan, that it is going to take a moment. Like, and I'm not saying they can't do it, but it's going to take a monumental effort for Arsenal to overhaul us. So let's wait and see. So Mohammed said, whenever we committed a foul, the ref couldn't take out his yellow card quick enough. Stupid ref. So Mohammed, I agree with you entirely, bro. And last night I said the same thing. It feels to me like that wasn't a dirty game last night, Mohammed, right? But we've seen, as you pointed out, mate, too many super chats, too many yellow cards for a game that wasn't in any way dirty. And you're right, I also felt like if you look at the number of fouls committed by both sides, it is very Liverpool heavy on the booking front. But, you know, ultimately Maka was probably going to pick up that yellow eventually, wasn't he, to get the suspension. And I wouldn't have been putting him in the team for the Everton game anyway. I was saying that in the build-up to the game against Newcastle, I would have rested Maka for that one. So, you know, now we probably go in with Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, Jones, and see if we get on. But we're going to have to be at it, because there's no wiggle room now this weekend. If we drop any points against Everton, it goes from being a crazy, typical festive period game with Newcastle into being a little wobble. So got to make it right. True Geordie claims Newcastle were robbed yesterday. I don't care. You know, I love Brian, but I don't care what anybody else says about it. Liverpool fans are going to feel we're robbed. Newcastle fans are going to feel they're robbed. I don't care what anybody else thinks, to be honest with you, mate. I turned on today and looked at Sky's Ref Watch, and it was like they were talking about these decisions in the Liverpool Newcastle game. And then I was looking at them like, one was the ref blown up for full time. Apparently they were moaning about that because they didn't think he played enough and they were on the attack. One was, should they've had a penalty because Virgil van Dijk left a little bit on not Phil Foden, what's his name? Fucking Anthony Gordon. But you know what? Nobody mentioned that Anthony Gordon, the little shit, was doing it himself earlier on in the game, and that once it was put up to him, all of a sudden it was, we were robbed. So I don't care what anybody else has to say. Ultimately, that was a cracking game last night. A draw was probably a fair result. The more I think back about our two penalty shouts, the handball one, I totally understand why that wasn't given, the way that they've been refereeing handballs this season. But I didn't see any mention in this Sky Sports thing of the Diaz penalty shout. Didn't even come up. And that wound me up.